I think this could become a very toxic relationship on the show with this little dance that they're doing with each other so far. What is up? I am back to talk about episode 3 of Canada Shore, our little dramatic party show on MTV and Paramount. And I gotta say, even though episode 3 was not as dramatic as the first two, they definitely found their toxic party girls for this cast, to say the least. And we might as well start off with the person going through it the most. And she is the youngest, so I guess it's pretty understandable. That is Lila. Over the first 2 episodes, she's been talking about how all the boys in the house give her the ick, and how Ethan, she likes to flirt with Ethan, but she's not into him because he gives her the ick. But at the end of episode 2, Lila was drunk, and we got to see that she was finally kissing Ethan. And then we got a flashback in this episode to that night when she wanted to go to the room and cuddle. Ethan rejected the cuddling, saying he's not a cuddle dude. Ethan's a very lame individual, to be honest. I don't like Ethan. He's probably my least favorite cast member. There's just something about him that's a combination of cringe and immature, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, because of that, Ethan's been acting like he's the one that rejected Lila, even though from day one, Ethan has been the one trying to get Lila into that room. And Cristopher was the one calling that out. We talked about Cristopher and Lila's connection over both being from Toronto, and seemed like they were becoming good friends in the house. I don't know about by the end of this episode. But Cristopher thinks that Lila could do better than Ethan, especially since he is the one now acting like he rejected her. He doesn't want that for Lila. And throughout this episode, he was trying to look out for Lila, although Cristopher has a mouth on him. And, he can say things that probably might be a little hurtful, especially when Lila is drinking. But when Lila and Cristopher talked, Lila said she keeps getting grossed out by Ethan, saying that she isn't interested romantically in him and just flirting. She denied it when Cristopher said that Ethan was going around saying Lila pulled him into the jungle room to cuddle. She said that never happened. She was wrong. We got to see the flashbacks over that. And I think Lila throughout this episode has been feeling lonely. She's missing her family. She talked to Snooki. At one point, Snooki gave her advice as the youngest, because I guess Snooki was the youngest on Jersey Shore when that took place, and was trying to give Lila advice. But at the end of the episode, and we'll get to everyone else's drama, but at the end of the episode, Lila is drunk again. This is coming after at the club when she saw the quiet, nerdy guy at the club and thought he was a munch, which I never heard of. That he was a munch who enjoys eating box, apparently. That's what she thought of the guy. But anyway, when she goes back home without the nerdy munch guy, she is talking about how her options are so limited and is looking for Ethan and is going to wait in his bed to cuddle with him. And I think we're just seeing a girl who is, I guess, lonely and quite messy when she drinks. The show definitely went out of their way to find, party girls who get messy when they drink, which I think is kind of one of the points of the show, if we're trying to make it like Jersey Shore anyway. But Cristopher sees her waiting in Ethan's bed and starts to say it's weird. Why is she waiting in Ethan's bed when she goes around all day complaining about how gross Ethan is? So Lila cries after Cristopher questions her, saying she wants to go home. And then Cristopher makes a comment, then why don't you go home then? So like I said, Cristopher, he's young too. He doesn't think before he speaks. Lila's already in an upset state and he's just upsetting her more. I do think Lila probably needs to get it together, but I will say this. I believe Lila when she says she's not interested on Ethan on a romantic level, because I think Ethan would give anyone with even a little bit of maturity the ick because of the way he acts. But I do think she's just lonely in the house, and I think she just wants to cuddle, but Ethan doesn't seem like the person for that because he doesn't even want to cuddle. So it's just kind of a messy situation. The Ryleigh and Emmett relationship also got pretty messy again in this episode. Ryleigh is another one who, when she drinks, her, I guess, insecure and immature qualities come out of her as well. In the first two episodes, Emmett was trying to make it clear to Ryleigh that he's just in something casual with her and not looking for something serious. And even with advice to Snooki, she kind of gave Emmett the same advice to keep being honest with Ryleigh. And I guess maybe Ryleigh could be getting mixed messages because Emmett tries to be very sweet to Ryleigh, brought her a tea when her throat hurt, likes to make her smile. But he's also being very clear with Ryleigh, in my opinion, when he's saying he just wants to keep it casual. And so after he reinforces this to her, she says she's losing the magic, or he's losing the magic with her, and he's getting in his head, and she just wants to feel wanted. And that, I guess, made things awkward. I can't really tell if it was Ryleigh being a little bit manipulative in when one episode saying she's okay with it being casual, but then when he reinforces this to her because he doesn't want any future problems and he wants to make himself clear that it's not going to be a serious thing, she then says, well, the thing's losing its magic and she just wants to feel wanted. I think we're in for a very messy season with these two, because then when they're out at the club, she's getting upset again because he's flirting with other girls, even though he's made it clear that this is what it's going to be. I will give Ryleigh credit in that he's acting very standoffish and he's kind of acting oblivious as to why she feels some kind of way. Because on one hand, you can keep things casual, but like when you're going out together to a club, does that mean you have to be apart and he has to be flirting at the bar with other women? That's questionable, I guess you can say. But also, she's saying all of this and saying she's fine with it being a casual thing, but anytime he's flirting with someone else, she has a meltdown at one of the clubs. And that is what happened with her again here. They did eventually make up by the end, and it seemed to, once they melted the walls between them, they started to have fun together at the club again. But judging by next week's preview, it's going to be the same thing where they're going to continue to give each other mixed messages. I think this could become a very toxic relationship on the show with this little dance that they're doing with each other so far. That was basically the main drama this week. We didn't have as much Kiara, Emmy, and Bauer drama like we did the first two episodes. And eventually, Emmy and Kiara finally tried to talk things out about Bauer. It seems like Emmy's bowing out in this whole love triangle between the three. And I think Kiara is glad that her and Emmy finally got to talk about this. Some of the guys, Ethan, Bauer, and Emmett, during the job part of this episode, did fire the girls, Kiara and Emmy, so that because they were all on some party boat and it was just going to be women on the party boat. So they wanted to kick the girls off so they could just have a good time with the women. Turns out the women were all older women, but this seems to be a cast of guys that likes their cougars, so they didn't seem to have a problem with that and still kind of got their flirting game on with the cougars on the party boat. Of course, Kiara and Emmy were upset when the boys did this, but when they got back home, when Bauer got back home, it seemed like Kiara just couldn't be mad at him. And then he told Kiara that he wants their relationship to be more public, so it seems like they might be moving to a more serious spot. But on this show, I'll believe it when I see it. The other couple, Isaiah and Giselle, are also getting closer than they expected. They did not get a lot of airtime in this episode, but Isaiah did mention how he thought he was going to come in looking for something casual. He didn't want something serious with Giselle, but he's kind of falling for her, and that they might even be meant to be, which is some big words from Isaiah. Now, judging by the preview we saw after the first episode, they're gonna have some future problems. So it is not going to stay all sunshine and rainbows for Isaiah and Giselle. But at least we, at this point, have some happiness with the couples on the show, because the other two couples right now are potential couples, because I don't even know what the hell Lila and Ethan are, but Lila and Ethan and Ryleigh and Emmett are definitely giving very toxic so far.